What happens when the child you reject holds the key to everything you ever prayed for? In this gripping West African cautionary tale, a childless couple finally received the miracle they longed for, but at a heartbreaking cost. As jealousy turns love into cruelty, a hidden truth waits to rise, and destiny begins to stare through the tears of an orphan girl named Ugonma. Brace yourself for a journey of sorrow, redemption, and power like no other. In a small town surrounded by hills and rivers, there was a couple named Uju and Obinna. They have been married for many years, but their home remained too quiet, almost unnaturally so. No cries of a newborn, no laughter of a child, only silence, heavy and painful. They longed for a child more than anything else in the world. They tried everything. They prayed, they fasted, and they visited churches and traditional healers. They traveled to cities and even crossed borders to see fertility specialists. But every time, the doctors shook their heads and said, "You are both medically fine. There is no reason this should not happen." Still, the womb of Uju remained silent. Her heart broke more each year. The whispers from neighbors cut like knives. "Maybe she's barren," they said. "Maybe Obinna should take another wife." But Obinna loved Uju deeply. "No," he would say, "Uju is my wife. Whether children come or not, I will stand by her." One hot afternoon, Uju was returning from the market with a basket of bitter leaf and yam when she met an old woman sitting beneath the shade of an odala tree. The woman's eyes were deep like wells of time. She smiled and said, "My daughter, why do you walk with sorrow tied around your waist like a wrapper?" Uju, surprised, looked at her. "Mama, you don't even know me." The old woman nodded, "But I know pain when I see it." Tears welled in Uju's eyes, and without thinking, she sat on the ground and wept. After a long silence, the old woman said, "Your child would come, but first, find a child among your relatives. Take her in, care for her like your own. Let her sleep under your roof. Let her eat from your pot. The grace upon her head will open your womb." Then the woman stood up and walked away, as if carried by the wind. Uju could not forget her words. That evening, she told Obinna everything. At first, he was unsure, but when Uju suggested they take in Ugonma, his late cousin's orphaned daughter, who lived in a poor home far away, he agreed. So they went and brought little Ugonma to their home. She was 8 years old, slim, quiet, and always eager to please. She fetched water, swept the compound, and called Uju Mama and Obinna Papa. True to the old woman's words, not even a year passed before Uju fell pregnant. It was a miracle. Joy filled the house like perfume. Visitors came with gifts. Songs were sung. Prayers were offered. Uju danced and smiled again. But slowly, something dark began to grow in her heart. She started looking at Ugonma with eyes of suspicion. If the baby cried at night, Uju would hiss and say, "Maybe it's that girl, maybe she's jealous." If food finished too quickly, Uju would say, "Ugonma eats like a wild animal. She has no home training." Ugonma, once welcomed with warm arms, now faced only cold stares and harsh words. The girl stopped smiling. Uju no longer let her eat with them. She gave her small portions, sometimes just leftovers, and made her sleep on a mat outside the baby's room. "If anything happens to my child," Uju would shout, "I would hold you responsible." Which child? Obinna noticed the change, but Uju would always say, "You don't understand, it's women that sees these things. There is something about that girl." Obinna, caught between love for his wife and pity for the girl, kept quiet. But Ugonma cried often, silently, in the dark corners of the house, into her pillow, into her dreams. She missed her late parents. She missed warmth. She missed kindness. One night, when a cockroach flew across the room, Uju screamed and said, "You see? She's turning into things now. Who knows what she does in the night?" Ugonma didn't speak. What could she say? Then came the day that would change everything. Uju was in the kitchen cooking yam porridge. The baby was asleep in the bedroom. Ugonma was sweeping the compound. Uju called out, "Go and bring me salt from the market. I forgot it." "But Mama," Ugonma said, "the baby is alone." Uju shouted, "Did I ask you to speak? Just go." Ugonma ran as fast as her legs could carry her. Minutes later, as Uju was stirring the pot, she heard a scream. A kind of scream that shatters bones. She dropped the spoon and ran towards the sound. Neighbors were gathered near the well. The baby, her precious baby, had crawled out of the room into the backyard and fallen into the open well. Uju screamed until her voice cracked. Men jumped into the well and pulled the lifeless child out. Water dripping, eyes cold, still. She wailed like a woman being torn apart. She threw herself on the ground. She cursed the heavens. She cursed fate. And then she turned to Ugonma. "You!" she screamed, pointing. "You killed my baby. You did this, you witch." Ugonma, shaking, whispered, "I begged you not to send me away." But Uju rushed at her and tore her clothes, beat her and dragged her across the ground. It was the neighbors who stopped her. Days passed, the baby was buried. Obinna sank into silence. He didn't eat. He didn't speak. At night, he would sit outside and stare at the moon. One evening, he finally said, "Uju, I warned you. That girl was a blessing. That girl was the key. You were told to love her, not to use her. Not to throw her away after you got what you wanted." Uju wept bitterly, her heart broken again, but this time from guilt. And that is how some blessings quietly comes into our lives, asking only for love, and when we mistreat them, they leave with more than they brought. Never forget those who helped you when you were in need. Some angels wear the faces of orphans. A new chapter begins soon. Prepare your heart for what comes next in chapter 2.